Deus Ex. Deus Ex.
Deus Ex.
Mankind Divided. Balthazar, you've been playing it.
I sure have. I've been loving it.
Loving it.
Loving it.
Playing it on PlayStation or PC?
So I'm playing it on PS4. I was tossing up as to whether to go with PC or PS4 and decided, after reading some pre-release content on it actually, that it performed admirably on PS4, barely different between PS4 and PC. So it's like, all right, I'm looking for, something that is just going to be a consistent experience. Don't need to worry about compatibility issues or anything like that. Obviously, it was made primarily for console and ported to PC. So I thought, if it's not really getting better performance on PC, let's stick with Sony.
And Deus Ex has traditionally been a PlayStation...
Kind of. It's always been on PC as well. So the original Deus Ex was on PC and PS2. I believe Invisible War might have been only on PC. And then Human Revolution was on everything, PlayStation, Xbox and PC, and likewise with Mankind Divided.
There you go. So it plays well, runs well.
Plays
on
very
PS4.
well. I guess that's what we'll dive into first, is performance. I have noticed nothing in terms of lagging performance. I mean, it's not 60 FPS. It is just 30 locked, but it runs really well. I've never seen any frame tearing. I've never seen any frame drops. The loading screens are a little long. But I guess it would be because the only time it loads is when you change area, so it is loading the entire map and putting everything in it.
What sort of size are the maps? Like, are they? Where would you?
They're reasonably sized. If I were to think of kind of a comparison, I would say it's an odd comparison because the games aren't really comparable at all. But having recently gone back to Dishonored. They're about the size of the levels in Dishonored, so you've got like a reasonable area to explore with external and internal areas, and it probably takes 30 seconds to load, which if you die can be a pain. If you die relatively quickly after entering an area, having to sit through 30-second load multiple times in a row. But if you go to one of the town hub, mostly the game takes place in a city, the city of Prague. So you're loading the different districts, and you're probably not going to die. You're just exploring the towns, talking to people. Yeah, you're going to be doing combat and stuff, but you're not likely to die too much in this game unless you're really not very good at it, or make stupid choices like me.
So the difficulty is you're not looking at difficulty on the level of something like Dark Souls. It's more.
It depends entirely on your playstyle. So there's quite a few difficulties. I started on Give Me Deus Ex, which is the hardest starting difficulty. Though actually, on the topic of difficulties, I do love that the hardest difficulty doesn't unlock until you finish the game once, but it's called I Never Asked for This. And it's a nod to Human Revolution. There was somewhat of a fan line, which was only said once in the entire game, where Adam Jensen just says, "I never asked for this."
I never asked for this. Is he got a suitably gravelly voice?
He does, and it's become somewhat of a a meme in a way. People love that line, and they use it all the time. When Mankind Divided was first announced, the videos were spammed with just the comments, well, I never asked for this, except actually I did, because the previous game was great. And so I love that they embraced that and made a difficulty called I Never Asked for This, which is basically, I believe, the same difficulty as Give Me Deus Ex, but if you die, your save is wiped and you have to start again from the beginning.
Oh, so it's a hardcore mode.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. So, in terms of story, obviously it kind of carries on this whole, mankind is divided between the orgs and the non-orgs, or whatever you want to call them, the naturals. Do you feel like it's a good progression story-wise?
Yeah, it's 2 years after Human Revolution. Now, do we think it's spoiler territory to go over the ending of a 5-year-old game?
Oh, absolutely not.
No, so the ending, the final areas had basically a signal being put out that meant everyone who had augmented parts was hacked, effectively. They were remotely hacked. They went crazy and they started attacking naturals. And so this is 2 years after that, which they just refer to as the incident. And so basically, mankind is divided. It shows that in that 2 years, cities have become segregated. There's, sections. There's different. It's simple things which are great world building. Where you'll go to the subway station and there'll be two queues: a naturals queue and an orgs queue. And the Naturals queue moves a lot faster with a lot more service, and the orgs are basically second-class citizens.
Right. Okay.
Which is a really cool development from Human Revolution, where you were Adam Jensen, the badass org, who everyone was like, oh, you're so cool, and now in this one, you're just spat at in the street and you're trashed, kind of thing.
Interesting. We won't go too much into story because obviously people are going to play the game. Satisfied with it, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've not touched too much of the story, and that's nothing to do with the story so far. It sets up something really cool at the start. There's a kind of third party that's introduced that there's a bit of a mystery behind. Definitely want to delve into that, but I've been focusing a lot more on just the various side quests that I've been finding and kind of the mini stories that they present. And the storytelling so far in the game, from what I've experienced, I'm about 10 hours into the game, and the storytelling, particularly of these side quests, has been really good. I've been really enjoying it.
So you can obviously, you'd extrapolate that out and say, hey, side quest's looking good.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
the
definitely.
main story should have a pretty good arc. Awesome. What about gameplay? Has it come along any further from previous iterations?
It definitely has. So I mean, that's the biggest improvement so far, really. Is by no means were the previous games gameplay bad, but they were a bit clunky. Sort of the fact that they were locked in first person unless you went into cover, at which point they popped out into third person.
Right.
It still does that, but it just feels a lot smoother, that transition now, and it feels like it works better. The minute-to-minute gameplay is just phenomenal. It's what you get the game for. The story, as I said, so far has been good, but you get it for the gameplay. It just feels so refined. You no longer feel like shooting is a shitty option. It's primarily meant to be a stealth-based game, but you no longer feel like the game is fighting against you if you want to shoot enemies. It feels like that is an equally incorporated and valid system to use.
Interesting, because I recall people talking about the earlier iterations of the game, being that if your build didn't quite fit with the game or how the game designers wanted you to play it, you could sort of get to a point in the game where you couldn't really progress because you gone down a certain route, and then suddenly you put in a situation you couldn't deal with.
There were definitely things a lot harder. I've not encountered anything like that so far. There have been moments definitely that took me a long time to get through, not because they were hard, because I just couldn't work them out. So an example of one is just I had to get into a room to place a kind of tracking device in there, and I couldn't get in because the door was locked with a hack level higher than I had. So I was kind of going out and I was using my augmented eyes to look around and try to find vents and stuff like that, and I just couldn't find a way into this room. Turned out I just had to climb up on something in the room I was in, and then I could hop over the door. So that was just kind of my own. I was looking for these secret ways around instead of just trying to do the obvious
thing. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely I'd say a lot of kind of difficulty in the game is almost presented by the amount of choice you have.
It's always
trying to figure out
what it's always the way. I do that too all the time. Like, they can't make it easy, so you're looking for and in a way it's kind of particularly in these kind of games, it's because you want to role play it. You're like, I'm a badass stealthy motherfucker. I want to find the hardest way into this room, and really all it is just climbing over the wall. Great. Awesome. So what else? What else do you want to talk about?
I mean, really just, I guess going back to what I have been doing with the side questing, something I really want to highlight that the game does well that not a lot of people would know because it's not kind of, it's not on the box, it's not advertised, is this game has so far meaningful choices. It really surprised me when I reached the end of the first side quest arc I started.
This is an incredible statement, because usually when games tout that they have meaningful choices,
then Mass Effect 3. But this does not mention at all that it's just kind of almost a given. It's a role-playing game, so there's going to be an element of you shaping this world you're in, kind of thing. And just the side quest arc. I mean, I won't go into spoilers, so I'll refer to things completely differently to how they are. But imagine that you're doing this whole thing and you're told that at the end you get these 2 rewards. And you really want both the rewards. You're like, that's awesome. And then you actually get to the end and they're like, oh, I made a mistake. You have to pick one. And also have a time limit to pick one, and if you don't make your decision quickly you get nothing, and it's not items, that's just a type of thing like suddenly it's come out of nowhere, it's this choice, but it's actually a meaningful choice, and because you went through the whole quest thinking that you got both outcomes, having to then quickly make a split-second decision as to which one you actually want to have happen.
Do they work those kind of things into the story of the situation? Like it's not
they
just
do. So as it was really good. The way it was presented was feasible. You're like, oh, okay, so yes, I do actually only get one of these things. That makes sense. And the whole time leading up to it, they were really building up both of them, so that when it did come to that choice, it was a really difficult choice to make.
Cool.
And again, a timed choice, so you just have to make it.
Yeah. Does it have that same sort of sense? Because when I think like side quests done really well, I think of something like The Witcher. It's always coming up. It's always coming up. You know, the first time I played to that, I would play through side quests, and it almost felt like they were part of. You know, it wasn't just something that popped up on my map and I went and did it and came back and then got on with the main story. It all felt quite intertwined.
Yeah.
Does it have that kind of feel?
It does, because of the world they've built. So each side quest I've done so far doesn't feel like it necessarily relates to the main story that I'm following, but it feels all just heavily intertwined with the state that the world is in, and that state is very much a part of the story. So in that way, it feels like it's all connected. Yeah.
Awesome.
It also, the world feels very much alive. I mean, I noticed one thing, for example. I was just raiding someone's house, and they left their computer open and logged in, and I had a look through it, read their emails, and they received an email from the government saying your number and name has been randomly selected and you've just won 190 million credits. Come and pick it up from the office, but also don't tell anyone, because we quite often make a mistake with these draws and you might not have won 190 million credits. And later on, I was in a different district and I was walking through, and I walked past that area that people go to claim things, and there was a guy there arguing with the person behind the counter saying, no, I got the email, it's open on my computer right now, I won 190 million credits, give me my credits. And they were saying, no, sorry, it was a mistaken draw, you didn't win the credits.
We make a mistake quite often.
Yeah. And I
great.
just thought that was really cool. I wonder if that same conversation would have been happening had I not found that email. Because there have been times where I've made a stupid mistake and I've gotten myself killed, and so I've reloaded, and when I've gone back through the area, the conversations that I encountered the first time have not been happening. People have not been where they were before. So I do wonder if conversations like that are, tailored to my experience, because I found that computer and I found that email.
Sounds excellent.
Yeah, it's I've been really enjoying it. I've been doing a lethal playthrough, because, I mean, come on, you've got blades that come out of your elbows and wrists and shit. Like, why would you not use them?
Blade hands.
But every now and again, I will just decide to go on a complete spree and just get completely destroyed. I've died a lot in that game, because you're not a superpowered badass like you would. You still are, but the world is already against you. You're a second-class citizen. So literally, if you look at someone wrong, you get gunned down in the street, kind of thing. People are waiting for you to try and pick a fight.
Sure.
So you can't get too far. I've made a lot of mistakes where the first time it happened was actually the first side quest. Had a chat with someone. He was clearly, running a scam operation, and I was like, I'm not going to stand for this. Your operation ends here. I went to kill him, and all of a sudden, about 50 armed cops appeared, started gunning me down, flying sentries flying overhead as I tried to take cover, shooting down. And so I'd reload and I'd have to play nice, and let people get away with what they were doing. And I'm just waiting for that turning point. It did happen in Human Revolution as well, where you just become a superpowered god again, and you can go back and you can right all the wrongs you wanted to when you were weak, kind of thing.
There you go. Contribute to the hatred that the human race has toward all these people.
Yeah, pretty much.
Brilliant. Well, it sounds fantastic, and it sounds like something that I'll definitely want to go out and play. There you go.
Yeah, Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, fantastic game. Even at the New Zealand retail price, I still recommend picking it up. It's really good. Yeah.
There you are.